What's happening in Vegas?
What's happening, Darren?
So, today we're here to talk about the elephant in the room. Or more or less like the neighbor next door.
Yeah, I just say the elephant next door.
Yeah, so 5 things that can really affect your property value when you go to sell your home.
And your sanity.
And your sanity. Okay, so let's go over these one by one. Okay, number 1 is your next door neighbor's yard.
Yeah. So look, here's the thing. A lot of people hate HOAs in Las Vegas, but I'll tell you what, you hate an HOA until sometimes you stroll through a non-HOA and you realize that inch you give as far as freedom, they took like 100 miles instead.
Yeah.
As far as the standards at which they keep their house.
Yeah. Now, you know what? We've seen people do it all. We've seen people repaint the house, power wash the driveway, stage every room in the house, but there's really not much you can do.
Yeah, your quartz countertops aren't going to match.
Yeah.
If your next door looks like a prison. I have a great example. I had a house, the neighboring houses were selling for about $1.2 million to $1.4 million. It was half-acre properties. These houses were close to 3,500 to 4,500 square feet. This is a few years ago. And I'm like, why is this house listed down? It's had like 8 price reductions down to $975. I'm like, this is a steal. Well, I found out. We drove over to that house, me and a client. We said, this is the deal of the century. We love the look of this house. The guy had a body shop, and the whole cul-de-sac was lined with his cars. His whole driveway had nothing but cars. The whole place smelled like oil and auto mechanics. Yep. And there you go. This was the deal of the century when you took price per square foot for the zip code, and it was sitting forever. In fact, I think it just expired. Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of things that can go wrong. Yeah. So, you know, and that's the number 1. Number 1 is that first impression. What does your neighbor's house look like? Okay. So let's move on to number 2. Loud and rude neighbors scare off buyers. Yeah. This can come in. I was showing a home and we opened the door and somebody was in a band obviously across the street and they were playing their music with the garage open and I got a text message saying, next house please. Yeah. So that's my quick one on loud neighbors.
Yeah. And sometimes the loud neighbor is not always a human. Sometimes that loud neighbor is a 4-legged furry friend that is anywhere from 8 to 80 pounds and will bark and growl furiously, endlessly, and that's something that if that bothers you, then you might want to address it. Now, what about you?
You know what? Here's the thing. I know you.
We're both dog owners.
Yeah, we're both dog owners. We're both dog lovers, right?
Yeah.
You know,
like dogs probably almost as much as people.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Now, Adam is probably not as much of a detractor on this, but if I have a dog next door that's barking nonstop, it's probably going to get on my nerves, right? Because I have a dog and I don't allow my dog to bark like that, right? She's trained. She's a little princess. So
yeah, see, I could sleep with a marching band playing next to me. However, my wife could be irritated by that. And by thus her reminding me over and over again, that would then make me act fast and see what we can do about the dog.
So loud neighbors, and this could be anything. Like I've seen people get upset over loud cars as they're pulling into revving motors.
My old place, I used to have a guy like 6 a.m. every day rev his Harley up, and I'm like, obviously my kids, especially when I had a newborn, like she adapted. But I was like, the first month it would drive me crazy when my kid was trying to get her to sleep till 7, you know?
Loud, rude neighbors. That's number 2. Coming in at number 3, vacant and abandoned homes.
Now, when we're talking vacant, I don't mean somebody that listed their house and it's taken a month or 2 to sell and maybe you're in your next destination or whatever. We're talking about abandoned for a relatively long period of time.
Years.
Probably plus 6 months to a year or more.
Yeah, I'm thinking
a year or more.
I'm thinking years, to where it's not showing anymore. It's obviously vacant, and there's a difference between a vacant house and an obviously vacant house. Yeah. If it's an obviously vacant house, people are going to have concerns about it. It's going to look vacant. and it's going to make people feel as though there might be squatters, there might be dangers.
Yeah, and that can attract just, like I said, the wrong crowds.
The wrong crowds, right? So I think that's all. I think we can move on to number 4.
I think so.
Number 4.
This is a good one.
This is a good one. This is a
I'm
boundary disputes. Are red flags.
This is I feel like you see this in the movies and television all the time of neighbors.
Yeah, and boundary disputes can be a lot of different things.
For sure.
It could be one of the previous owners allowed the neighbor to put their fence a certain way that's actually covering some of your property.
Yeah.
Maybe these 2 neighbors were friends 2 owners ago. And he says, "Oh yeah, sure. You want to put your friend's fence this way so that you can have your RV parking? Sure, Bill.
Yeah,
go for it, buddy."
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, now the new people are coming in and they're walking with their agent. They're looking at something and they realize,
this is encroaching on my territory.
Yeah, the fence is 2 feet over.
Yeah.
And that could turn into a situation where you're getting the evil empire, which is lawyers, involved. That
sometimes
was a joke.
very necessary. Sometimes very necessary.
And then it's a situation. So that's something to really look out for.
Well, and also too, one of the things that I see probably the most common is trees.
Trees.
Hanging over, or also if you have like a gigantic, beautifully aged tree, which we don't get a ton of them in Vegas, but let's say you got a giant palm or something, and I can clearly see, now I'm not an inspector or anything like that, but if you can clearly see that the block wall is lifting up a little bit, that's also a dispute, as far as, hey, you got to cut that
property
down because
lines.
it's actually ruining my block wall that's separating it, and we have shared walls.
Yeah, so that is actually, that's something I have seen people pass on houses for repeatedly. I have seen people look at block walls or look at trees overhanging and decide that the neighbors are rude, the neighbors inconsiderate, and pass on the house.
Now, I had that happen once where I had a client, though, this is funny. And they were like, well, geez, they had 2 trees. One was a fruit tree. And the neighbor happened to be out, hey, are you guys looking at that? Nice neighbor. And they said, oh my gosh, if you have any fruit hang on your side, feel free to grab some. We ended up actually writing an offer because that neighbor was nice and friendly.
Yeah, and this other neighbor didn't mind the fruit trees, right? So, like, me personally, I'm not into, fruit trees hanging over my wall, so I would probably...
If I have an orange or lemon tree, I'm grabbing them.
I would probably say something about it, and, we're not saying your neighbors are bad people.
No.
We're just saying that...
I think that just maybe some diligence on the front end, if you're, looking at a new neighborhood, is just important, just to make sure that there is no issues down the road.
Yeah.
For the most part, most people have this stuff happen and they don't care. But
yeah, you know what? Here's the thing: if you see any of these flags and you're getting ready to sell your house, maybe have a friendly conversation with your neighbors. Say, hey, listen, I'm trying to sell my house. Get my landscaping done. Can my guy come hit your yard? Because at the end of the day, and you can explain this in dollars and cents, the more money your house sells for, the more their house is worth. Yeah. Right, Adam?
100%. I think with anything, really, I mean, hey, do you care if I trim this part of the tree just while I sell the house or whatever? There's a lot of things you can do, and most neighbors understand home values, so... I don't think this is now. Could you get somebody? I'm going to die here. I don't care.
Absolutely, 100%.
That does happen. That
does happen. But most people, I feel as though if they feel like there is something in it for them, and that thing is equity, right? They might be willing to play ball. So, if you've got any questions about this or anything else, if this is the first time you're watching the channel, what do we like?
What do you mean?
What do we like? We like subscribes and likes and comments.
That's true. We do subscribes and likes.
Adam.
And even comments.
Yeah, Adam did not catch on very well.
I was asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, asleep at the wheel.
At the wheel. It happens once in a while. But likes, comments. If you guys have if you guys have any... Okay, no names to be mentioned, though. This needs to be anonymous. But if you have, some funny experiences that happened with a neighbor or anything goofy, please put your comments down.
Put your comment there. We'd love to see it.
See it. But again, anonymous. No calling names out. None of that.
Yeah, don't give addresses either. Not just names, no addresses either. So
Yeah.
We appreciate you watching, and until next time, what's happening in Vegas?
Yeah, let's do it.